All right, in today's video, we're going to be looking at the most recent trade update around Zach LaVine and Vooch and what this means for the Chicago Bulls and the likelihood of either player being moved. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so we're going to be looking at the most recent trade update around Zach LaVine and Vooch. This came out a couple days ago. Just to be clear about it, I didn't get a chance to talk about this, but in this article, it's on HoopsHype. It's written by Michael Scotto, and it talks about the Denver Nuggets rumor that we were hearing, that trade situation and where that deal is right now. And also, too, it talks about the Golden State Warriors and them really doing some due diligence, on Vooch and Zach LaVine. And so let's go ahead and jump into what was said here. And so once again, you can find this article on HoopsHype. It is Michael Scotto who writes this. And so just to be clear, this did come out a couple days ago. So here is the piece that they're talking about the Zach LaVine situation and what is going on with that possible Denver Nuggets deal. And so it looks like that this deal has essentially maybe cooled off. It looks like the optimism is not necessarily there like it might have been before. Obviously, it was a lot of reports and rumors, so we don't know what was what. But it looks like that because the Chicago Bulls do not want to absorb the contract of Zeke Naji, essentially that is held up the deal. We had heard about that, but likely, or for this deal to likely happen, that would mean that a third team would have to come in. Mentions the Detroit Pistons, who obviously have the salary cap room to do so. But in order to facilitate that, this would mean that the Chicago Bulls are going to have to give up some draft capital. And then when you look at the Denver Nuggets, well, they really don't have those kind of future draft assets that would really maybe make this worthwhile. So just kind of paraphrasing this, once again, you can take a look at this article on HoopsHype. And so I just think initially when I saw this and just kind of looking at it, I think that for the Chicago Bulls, I think it's understandable, that they are probably hesitant to go ahead and maybe jump into something to where they would have to give off some draft capital. Because the point is that if you're moving on from Zach LaVine, that would mean that you're going into a rebuild and you need to get draft capital. You don't want to move off of draft capital just to kind of move off of contracts or to move off of him. That, in my opinion, that's like you're hustling backwards, in my opinion. And so I just think that, yes, the Chicago Bulls really don't need to do that. And then also, too, I think another thing that is very interesting about this is that now maybe the Denver Nuggets might be a little hesitant because they're wondering what the fit is going to be like between Zach LaVine and Jamal Murray. And so, I think when I look at that, initially, I think that it's going to be okay with both of those players playing with the Joker out there. I think that they could definitely work together. I think that the real issue that I've had with this deal, and I've said this before, is that it doesn't address the major problem that I think the Denver Nuggets really have. And that is that their bench is not very good. And so, with no bench, when the Joker goes off the floor, like they're still going to be, I think, at a deficit there. And I think that that is going to be the real issue for the Denver Nuggets. And so I'm not sure that by going out and getting Zach LaVine, that is going to make up for no longer having a guy like Thomas Bryant, Bruce Bowen, Jeff Green, Reggie Jackson, Ish Smith. Like these are some of the players that came in and just were major contributors for that team when they won a championship. And right now, the Denver Nuggets, who knows, maybe they might want to revisit this because right now they're surging in the Western Conference. They're fourth at the time of this current recording, and they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. And things have changed a little bit because Aaron Gordon has been out with a strained right calf, I believe. And so, certainly that is going to maybe put some more strain on those starters. I think I saw where maybe Russell Westbrook is going to now have to come in and do some spot starts. And so that means that your bench gets weaker. And so does it make sense for the Denver Nuggets to go out there and trade for Zach LaVine. Again, it's going to be costly for them because you have to think about the trade kicker and then also too Zach LaVine's contract with that player option. And so I just think that that's kind of the things to really think about with that. And just again, for the Chicago Bulls, you want to make sure that you retain draft capital or get back draft capital. You don't want to give out draft capital in order to move on from a player. And so next up, I wanted to go into the next update, and this is around Zach LaVine and Vooch, and this circles around the Golden State rumors. And once again, this is still in that same article. So if you want to check it out, it is on HoopsHype yet again. And so this is talking about just the Golden State situation and them doing their due diligence around Zach LaVine, Cam Johnson. You have Vooch, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, it says, etc. So I guess other players that they might be looking at. And so if they've done their due diligence, that means that I think we'd said this before, that they've checked up on these players. And so we haven't heard very much else. But we do know if this is true, then Golden State certainly is looking to still make some moves, which is something that this article does point out. Talks about the fact that they do have some expiring contracts in Gary Payton II. You got Kayvon Looney. He's an expiring contract. Even Kuminga's an expiring contract to a certain extent there. And so it did talk about the fact that, maybe Moses Moody might be a player that maybe could be included. But essentially, all it's talking about is just that the Golden State Warriors have done their due diligence on both of those players. And so I think that it makes sense if the Golden State Warriors are looking for a center. I feel like that at this point in time, for them to really maximize what they have, I think that they've already gone out and they've gotten Dennis Schroeder, which makes sense for them. It helps them out a little bit defensively. He certainly helps them out offensively as well. But I think that they need some size. They need somebody to go with Draymond Green and help him out. And also, too, with Trace Jackson Davis as well. And you get a guy like Vooch who's playing at an all-star level, a guy who can stretch the floor. And I know he struggles a bit defensively, but excuse me, I still feel like Golden State has some things that can really make up for maybe the defensive of inefficiencies that you get from Vooch out there. And so, do the Chicago Bulls maybe jump in on something like this? I mean, for some of these younger prospects that might be available, maybe. I think for Golden State to do this, if they want to go out and they say they wanted to get Vooch, then that would mean, like suggested here, that you're probably going to have to maybe flip a player like Dennis Schroeder for that to happen. Because when you look at the salary right now, I believe Vooch is at $20 million, and then he's going to be 21 and some change on the next year of that expiring deal. And so, if you're going to move off of him or move for him, then that means that you're going to have to maybe use one of these salaries here to maybe get him. But if you're going to go after Zach LaVine, now that is where you're going to have to probably maybe shift the team around even more. And I think that in that situation, you're probably going to have to include a player like maybe Andrew Wiggins in there in order for the salary match to happen. And so I don't know if Golden State wants to necessarily do that. I think that they are probably very invested into Andrew Wiggins, not saying that nobody's, not movable or anything like that. But, for Zach LaVine, it's going to cost you a little bit more. For Vooch, I think it makes a lot more sense if Golden State is going to do it. Who knows what is going to happen, but wanted to go ahead and give you guys just a quick update about this. If you haven't seen this, once again, this came out a couple days ago. These are just my thoughts, just looking at the salary and just kind of reflecting here. So let me know in the comments, do you think that the Chicago Bulls ultimately are going to move Zach LaVine or Vooch this season? I think as we continue to go along, this looks like this might be something where the Chicago Bulls might have them for the season, but who knows? I mean, we're still over a month before the trade deadline. Anything can happen. Excuse me. So anyway, just wanted to say, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share to the content. It means a lot to us out there as we try to reach our goal of 5,000 subscribers by the end of the NBA season out there. Want to let you know about 66.3% of you that watch are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure that you go ahead and mash on that subscribe button, as it means a lot to us here. And so, look, even though the Chicago Bulls are, they're in a lot of rumors and things like that, and we still haven't really heard anything that looks like it's going to be worthwhile, I'm still always saying that this Chicago Bulls team just really seriously needs to get a direction. And if they are going to make a trade, it's got to be something that makes sense and pushes your franchise forward. You don't want to do something that's going to push your franchise back or hustle backwards. So don't be attaching assets to something just to move off of it. That's just my personal opinion there. So anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. And as usual, go Bulls. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.